So this guy right here is my third baby. He is 3 months old, and today I'm going to talk about how I'm coping with 3 children so far. I was kind of gearing up for it to be a really big transition going from 2 to 3, but so far it's actually been really quite fine. I am aware that he's only 3 months old and things will change and different challenges will present themselves as he becomes more wakeful. But so far, I'm just going to talk about my experience in the first 3 months and how that's been. Going from 1 to 2 is just this huge learning curve in working out how to split yourself between 2 people rather than just one child. Whereas going from 2 to 3, I've kind of found that I don't need to split myself further. I've already got used to that juggle, so it hasn't been as overwhelming as I thought it was. I think really the peak of overwhelmingness happened when I moved from 1 to 2 children, looking back. At the time, moving from 1 to 2, I was actually pleasantly surprised with how things went, but looking back, there were definitely big challenges, and I do wonder whether I'm sort of doing the same thing now and I'm saying, yeah, it's all fine, and then I'll look back and be like, no, that was actually quite hard at times. So take everything I say with a pinch of salt, because honestly, I'm not actually sure myself. Right now, I tend to find that everyone's either fine, and it can sometimes even be a little bit quiet and chilled out sometimes. And then there's the times when everyone needs something and it's all at once and it's just really hectic for an hour or two and then it dies down again. I often joke about this, but in all honesty, it's not actually a joke. The biggest adjustment I've found going from 2 to 3 children has been the extra time it takes to load everyone in and out of the car. I do a lot of evenings and bedtimes on my own. I've been doing it since this one was a week old. My boyfriend travels a lot for work, so he's already done a couple of trips away and he's going to be doing one every month. So it's going to be a week every month for, the foreseeable future. So from very early on, I've had to get used to doing all of the parenting all day, 24/7 by myself. I found that it's not too difficult juggling everything with dinner and bedtime. This guy goes in the sling, which is amazing and helps so much, and he's happy in there and everything just follows on from that. We don't actually do bath time every night for the kids. They have sensitive skin and eczema, so it's actually better for them not to have a bath every night. So I don't have that challenge. So really it's just getting them fed into pyjamas and into bed. And then I deal with this guy's bedtime afterwards, or we just have the evening together on the sofa. Also, being the third baby, sometimes he does just have to cry for a little bit. There's times when I'll have to put him down and he will have to cry until I can deal with him because someone else needs something. And that's something that would never have happened with my first baby. I picked him up the second that he grizzled or needed anything. So it is different third time round, but it's something you get used to and just has to happen. For me, the nights can be the hardest challenge. With Sam working away so much, it's just me dealing with everyone, and my eldest 2 are not the most predictable sleepers. They do still wake up in the night, and I find that really difficult when I have to split myself between a baby who sleeps right next to me and will wake up the instant I leave, and then the older 2 who will be up and down during the night. That can be a real struggle. I've tried to just think of ways that will make nights easier for me. So recently I bought a Z bed which can be moved around from room to room. So if I've got a poorly or a restless child, I can bring them in the room with me whilst also doing the co-sleeping thing in the bed with the baby. Another thing that I think has made things slightly easier with the adjustment to 3 children is that my second child, Rory, was just 3 when this guy came along. So it's quite a large age gap. He was able to do some things independently, and his conversation ability is at that level that I can tell him that he needs to wait and he understands, or I can ask him to go and do something himself, and that has made a big difference. And also the fact that he's at preschool, so I get some time with this guy on my own. I get time in the day to have a rest, and I'll be honest here and say that during those moments I don't do housework. I don't do any of that. I use it to have a break. And that has been another thing which has sort of helped my mindset with having 3 children, is that I know I've got that time either for me and him or sort of just for me. And with my first two, which was a 2.5 year age gap, I didn't have that time for myself, so it was a lot more hectic. Co-sleeping is another big factor that's helped loads with the adjustment to 3 children. I also co-slept with my second son because after my first son was such an awful sleeper, I just couldn't get my head round how I was going to do the baby sleep thing again and also be able to cope during the day with a toddler and a baby. So we co-slept from the start, and we've also done the same with this guy, and it just means that I'm more well rested. Yes, I wake in the night when he wakes, but we drift off back to sleep together. I don't have to get out of bed. So overall, by the time the morning comes, I've had a much better night's sleep than I would have if I was getting up to him. It means that I feel like I've had enough sleep that I can get up and tackle the day. I feel like an important thing to mention is his temperament at the moment. He is really quite a chilled out baby. He's happy just to kind of sit and chill in his chair. The older two entertain him, so he doesn't need to be in my arms all day every day, and that obviously has been the main thing that's made our transition to 3 quite smooth. He's been completely different to my first as a baby, who just wasn't happy unless he was being held and actually moved around, and that lasted until he could crawl, so it was a long old slog. This guy is just so relaxed when he's awake. He's just perfectly happy just to sit there and watch everybody, and he's just generally so calm and content. He does have his bad days, but on a normal day. My first baby had reflux and also a lot of food allergies, so that obviously made a big difference to how happy he was as a baby. And I mean, it was a real tough time for me. It was just relentless, and he needed so much of my time. And I think if he had been the third baby, I'd be having a completely different experience right now. So disposition, personality type, and extenuating circumstances like reflux and allergies make a huge difference to how you cope with adding more children to your family. In a way, I feel like it's all just down to luck, really, and I think we've been so lucky with this guy and how chilled he is so far. And because he's my third, I'm just loving this experience with him. It's so different to having your first. You're just learning about everything, and I was just so focused on trying to do a good job and also trying to help this unhappy baby. And then with my second, I was really focused on the transition to more than one child and how my eldest would feel, ruining his life by bringing another child into it. There was a bit of sort of that guilt factor going on for a while. Third time round, I knew how it was going to go down. I knew that everyone would adjust and sort of forget what life was like before he came along. So there was no worry, there was no learning about how to deal with a newborn. I've done that all already. It's just been pure joy, just experiencing having a newborn again. I always say to everybody that asks that actually in these early days, it's almost easier than when they get older because he sleeps so much. And when they start being more wakeful and they need more of your time, that's when the real tiredness kicks in for me. So probably in about 6 months' time, I'll be back here telling you that I'm having a really hard time of it and no one's sleeping. I'm totally anticipating this, which is sort of why I'm appreciating this stage all the more. But for the moment, it's just been a really natural adjustment to 3 children, and everything is going okay so far.